In 1979, the county was just putting through the comp plan, and I have to say that the atmosphere was so tense. Many people were opposed to any kind of planning, and many people in the development business thought that a land use plan, and there had been no plan whatever, would diminish their potential earnings, and probably they were right. Realtors wanted a rural 1 acre designation across all of the rural areas of the county, which would allow them to build tracts or condo developments on the water just about anywhere. Gene Knapp then was the county prosecutor, and he was by himself, and he had no special background in land use law.
All that Gene had was one secretary who had one typewriter, and that was it. So to defend the original comp plan, he needed allies and an organization and a fundraising mechanism, and that's what the Friends of the San Juans did.
And Gene said, Mike, I don't know what we're going to do. I really need the help and assistance of a good land use attorney. And I said, who do you recommend? He said, foremost, Peter Buck.
There were two components to the climate in San Juan County at that time. One was a group of people interested in developing land, many of whom had been there a long time, and they never had any regulation. And there were another group of people that cared about the status quo of the environment. But San Juan County had no comprehensive plan, no zoning code. So really, let's say 77, 78 was a time it was wide open. You know, some people have called it the Wild West, and it really was in that context.
One of the frustrations of being a land use attorney, land use environmental attorney, is that you've got this pot of gold, which in our case is the San Juan Islands, and you're protecting it. And if you win, nothing changes. If you win, it's still there. But if you ever lose, that gold is taken away and it's gone forever. So you can't ever afford to lose.
And through that planning process, we started to have guidance and conversations about what was meaningful to us, what we wanted to protect and why. And in 1979, the first comprehensive land use plan was passed and adopted in San Juan County.
I probably see less change than many people might see because I'm used to the huge change other places that didn't take care like San Juan County did.
When I ride the ferry, I sometimes think to myself, as there are people around me looking over the railings at the beautiful natural shoreline and the unbroken ridge lines, and the sun is shining, and it's just one of those magical days where you're sailing into paradise. And I think to myself, if they had any idea how hard it is to keep it this way, that this is not an accident. This is the product of a lot of really hard work.
Fly over the islands at sunset, and you look at this beautiful archipelago that's lying out below you. And if there's a more beautiful place in the United States, I haven't seen it.
Since 1979, Friends has evolved to take on a whole host of additional issues.
It all started when I saw a newsletter from Friends of the San Juans talking about armoring of beaches and how it degrades the beach, which was a huge shock to me. I want the beach to be able to be here for my grandchildren, for my nieces, nephews, godchildren, and that's when we made the decision to contact Friends of the San Juans and see what we could do about this portion of beach. I always used to think, what can I, just one small person, do to help those great big animals that live out in the water? Well, again, in looking at a newsletter article, it turns out that those great big orca feed on salmon, which feed on tiny little fish, which spawn on my beach.
I'm Tina Whitman, and I'm science director at Friends of the San Juans, and I'm standing on Brown Island right opposite Friday Harbor, and I'm standing at one of our shoreline restoration sites. We're working with 3 private landowners to restore habitat for fish. It's always really satisfying to stand with a private property owner on their land, way up here above the water when the tide is out, and actually find fish eggs. And you just sort of see that light bulb go off for people, because the vast majority of us don't know that there are fish using our beaches to lay their eggs, lay and incubate their eggs.
Well, I grew up in a big family, big extended family, and gathering in a kitchen was always part of what we did. That's how we got together as a family and celebrated things. And I like being able to feed people and invite them over for that. Similarly, now I'm feeding the orca.
Right
by
now,
having
through our
these little
research
fish
arm,
that can spawn
we're
on this
tracking
beach.
over
So
22
my
separate
kitchen now
projects,
encompasses
which
my
combined
garden
together would add an
and my
additional
beach
12,000
and the ocean.
transits
It's
through our
fabulous.
waters. I'm going to
Friends
cut
of the
that
San
and say it
Juans
again.
does research, and then we apply that to policy and planning, such as the increase in shipping and terminals.
Right now, through our research arm, we're tracking over 22 separate projects in the Salish Sea. These combined annual transits could add an additional 4,000 vessel transits to our waters.
An oil spill in the San Juan Islands would be catastrophic. They're still recovering from the Exxon Valdez, which I actually worked on as an admiralty lawyer when I was practicing in Seattle.
We've seen the opportunity to stand with tribes on numerous occasions, too many occasions right now, where we're both concerned about our homes, where we're concerned about our shared waters.
I think Friends of the San Juan and other organizations have things in common with who we are as a people, what we represent as a people, and what we would die for as a people, as a nation, as a community, as a fisherman. You guys have the same hopes, the same goals. You know, it's great to be able to stand with Friends of the San Juans and other organizations and the individuals within, because you know the compassion is there.
There's a lot going on right now at the national scene with regard to climate justice. We take that to heart here. We work in schools with kids from kindergarten to high school to make sure that their climate future is being planned for and discussed here locally.
I've had the honor, really, of working with students at Friday Harbor High School, a few at Spring Street International School as well, high school students who are also trained to be climate reality leaders by Al Gore recently.
I went to Seattle with a couple other friends from my school, and we did a climate reality training with Al Gore. And we learned a lot from that, and that was a really incredible experience.
Some of the students I've been working with at Friday Harbor High School took a resolution to their school board saying, let's address climate change. With every decision that you make, you should be thinking about sustainability, you should be thinking about climate change. And that resolution just passed. So this is just the beginning of what those students can do.
There's a lot of things I wish people would do, but I think one of the main things is inform themselves and inform others. Because if everyone realizes what's going on and believes what's going on, then it'll be easier to convince them to change.
Friends of the San Juans has launched an ambitious endowment to ensure that we have the resources in place to have a public interest environmental attorney on staff all the time. We also have a separate endowment for science and policy. It's your contributions that will allow us to have the resources to make sure that we can argue for important things like clean air, clean water, endangered species, and safe shipping. I'd like to invite you to make a special contribution to the Friends of the San Juans endowment and support a legacy for the future. Whatever you love is worth protecting. Let's work together and protect what we love.